For some individuals, life is anything but conventional. Their passions have become an obsession, and their daily routines challenge social taboos with often shocking consequences. Some of their obsessions are familiar, like money.
It got to the stage where I had so much money that, literally, I just didn't know what to do with it.
Everybody that I've spoken to in this business is driven by greed.
Food.
Food is my friend. It's a companion, and it replaces friendship, relationships.
Or sex.
God designed sex. He wants us to have the best sex possible.
When I say people are literally having sex on the hoods of their cars in our church parking lots, that's not an exaggeration, that's a fact.
Others are more bizarre.
Oh, man. It's kind of watching you eat itself.
If I was in a place where human baby was on the menu and it was legal, I think I'd have to try it just to say I did it.
But in every case, their obsession has become all-consuming. Tonight, we meet the British man whose addiction to food has turned him into the fattest man in the world.
Food's made me happy. I also know it's killing me.
Discover the human cost of the actions of a modern-day body snatcher.
These were people's fathers, mothers, daughters, children. To them, it was a dead body with a dollar sign.
And meet the man whose penis fixation has taken over his life.
The genitals that I have when I look down at my body don't match the way that in my head I sort of know and believe they should be.
This is Paul Mason.
I don't look at myself because I really hate the way I look.
48-year-old Paul is known as the world's heaviest man.
I have got an illness. It's a binge eating disorder. And I know it's bad, but I've got to have it.
Paul weighs 70 stone, over 5 times the weight of the average man. He's bedridden and unable to leave his house.
Food is my friend. It's a companion, and it replaces friendship, relationships.
Food has imprisoned him. This is it. He's in bed constantly. There's nothing more he can do with his life.
Paul binges on junk food, consuming around 20,000 calories a day, 8 times the recommended daily intake.
It's like having a child who can't be told they're not allowed to have it.
At the moment, this is better than having a normal life.
But Paul's life didn't always revolve around food. As a child, he led a normal, healthy existence.
When I became 11, Dad got me a bike and also done paint around until I left school.
He went on to become a postman, exercising daily through his work.
A bit like the old paint around, really. When you think of a job postman, you sort of go out, delivering mail and that, walking the streets.
However, when Paul was moved to a desk job, he stopped exercising. Problems at home meant he began comfort eating, and the weight started to pile on.
I was in a relationship, and that sort of finished, and that sort of hit me pretty hard, and the weight really started to go on quite a lot, and I didn't really take any notice of anything what people were saying to me. Just ate, take away after take away. The binge eating side of it took over, and addiction really hit in really bad. I just seemed to let myself go. It was like a downward scale really from there.
As his weight increased, food became a bigger and bigger part of Paul's life.
You put food before anything else. It even comes before family, friendship. Food's made me happy. I also know it's killing me.
By 2002, Paul had become so big that he was physically unable to leave the house. In order to get him to hospital, firefighters had to knock down a wall.
Luckily, my bed was beside the window, so they took the window out and the whole wall of the flat down.
And last year, it was reported that Paul was so heavy that he might have to be airlifted to hospital using a military helicopter.
It's just like a vicious circle, but that's my life.
Paul's obsession with food has led to a very solitary existence. On a daily basis, he only has his carers for company.
I myself know how it feels. I'm overweight myself, and I know I can sympathise with Paul because of that. And I know that when you are down, you do turn to food. Obviously, in Paul's case, more than the average person would turn to food.
You do tend to shut yourself away a bit from society, but that's my own choice. And I think anybody who doesn't fit in the norm size will probably say the same.
Paul's condition means that he's heavily reliant on his computer for social contact.
I'm composing an email to my friend who lives down Felixstowe.
The closest Paul has come to a relationship is someone he's met on the internet.
She is a special friend. She's told me I can't call her my girlfriend because we're not that close. I dream of having a relationship, get married, have children, and just do normal things.
Paul has tendencies to think of suicidal thoughts. To me, it's a waste of a life. We've been put on here to live our life as much as possible. And when you look at someone like Paul, what is his life? This is it. It just seems such a waste. I feel sad when I come away from Paul of an evening, when you think that you're leaving him, you're going home to your family and your life, and Paul's got nothing.
New York dentist Dr. Michael Mastromarino was a man driven by money, but the loss of his license to practice posed a threat to the lifestyle he'd been accustomed to.
Greed was the motivating factor here. I mean, he saw the money, he grabbed the money, he spent the money.
In 2006, an elaborate criminal conspiracy came to light. Mastromarino had masterminded a money-making scheme that was shocking in the extreme.
He got bodies, cut them up, sold the body parts in a scam that netted him more than $6 million in 5 years.
Dr. Mastromarino was a body snatcher.
This heartless individual brokered my father's body like it was used car parts with no more emotion than a junkyard manager.
A 44-year-old father of two, Michael Mastromarino led a seemingly normal life. After graduating from the University of Pittsburgh, he had become a successful dental surgeon, with profitable dental surgeries in New Jersey and Manhattan. But there was more to Mastromarino than met the eye. He was a man obsessed with making money.
Michael Mastromarino was a man who lived a very lavish lifestyle. Beautiful home in Fort Lee, New Jersey, beautiful lawns, actually a gorgeous wife, kids, fancy cars.
Mastromarino was a highly paid and respected member of his profession.
He also, unfortunately, had a habit of using narcotics, including at times when he was doing his operations. And at one point, he passed out while he was in the middle of surgery.
Mastromarino found himself struck off and no longer able to practice dentistry.
When he lost his dentist license because of drug use, he had to find a way to keep that lifestyle up.
With most medical doors closed to him, Mastromarino turned to the trade in donated body parts used for transplant and medical research.
As an oral surgeon, he very probably used bone paste to do implant surgery. And the bone paste is derived from human cadaver bones, so it is likely that that's how he learned about the tissue business.
There are so many different kinds of uses for donated tissue, and as our population ages, and as surgeons find new and innovative ways to use tissues, that continues to increase the demand for tissues. So currently, we have no end in sight for many of the tissues that we really need.
Mastromarino set up a biomedical business which acted as a broker for dead bodies. Legitimate donors were sought, and their body parts then sold on for profit.
There was a tremendous value to a corpse. You could sell the body parts individually for anywhere from $15,000 to over $150,000. There was a price for fingers. Eyeballs, corneas, I think, are about $40 to $50 each. Skin is actually sold by the square foot.
But Mastromarino wasn't satisfied with the moderate income that he was making from legitimately donated corpses. He targeted the thousands of bodies filled with potentially lucrative organs and tissue that were being cremated.
It is my understanding that Dr. Mastromarino went out and he found funeral directors who were willing to risk their businesses, risk their reputations to make a few extra dollars on the side. He offered them money. He said, I'll give you $500 or $1,000 per body, and nobody will know the better.
He was forging the name of the next of kin, who in theory had given permission to take the body. He was forging the medical histories of the people who had died.
Mastromarino's illegal business thrived.
He had 5 major American companies who were buying his product, and as fast as he could harvest the body, they would pay him. And he very quickly was earning, some millions of dollars a year, and his business was flourishing.
Despite the numbers of people involved in this elaborate scheme, Mastromarino was getting away with it.
But the reason why Mastromarino was able to run this scam for so many years is that everybody was making money, and nobody was about to report what was going on. The funeral home owners were getting paid $1,000 a corpse. The guys that went in there and chopped up the corpses were making a fortune. Mastromarino was making a lot of money. The only people who were actual witnesses to this who were not involved were dead.
But Mastromarino's next money-making scheme was to prove a step too far. Paul Mason is known as the heaviest man in the world.
He's in bed constantly. There's nothing more he can do with his life.
An addiction to food has seen his weight increase to over 70 stone, more than 5 times the weight of the average British man.
Food is my friend. It's a companion.
Bedridden for many years, Paul is unable to go out and shop for the junk food he craves. So he's found a way to get food brought to him.
I'm doing some shopping online. I'm ordering some chocolate and some savoury pastries because I've got to have the stuff here. I need to have it. It's got to be there, and that is the addiction part of it.
With Paul's problem, it's more of an obsession. He's got to have the food. It's hard to persuade somebody when it's time to stop.
Hi,
hello.
Shopping.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I didn't know you'd done an order.
Yeah, so I'm having a bit of a bad day today.
This delivery amounts to around 10,000 calories, the recommended daily allowance for 4 men. But for Paul, this is nothing unusual.
Right, chocolate, favourite chocolate bars, Bounty, pasties, Watsits, more Cornish pasties, chocolate bars.
But these snacks are just the start of today's spending on food.
Can I have one number 14 spring roll, 235 chicken chow mein? You do have days where you just give up. Large chips, large haddock. No, that'll do. It is an expensive habit. Okay. It's very expensive, but I manage it as much as I can now. Can't wait for it to turn up.
Unable to work, Paul is completely reliant on his benefits to buy food.
Okay.
Paul's local health authority meets the costs of the team of carers who are required to look after him.
When he gets any food delivered that he really shouldn't be eating, it's very disappointing, very downhearting to all of us that work with him. We can't stop him from eating what he wants to eat, take away his human rights otherwise, but we're here to try and persuade him gently.
It's given me a high when I'm eating this, as well as a adrenaline sort of boost, you know? It really feels good, and it's great. The feeling will last for about an hour, and then I will have to have some chocolate or some crisps or carry on that feeling, that real good buzz. Once you get to my size, you can't stop eating.
Paul's incapacity means that he also relies on his carers to keep him clean.
Before he has his breakfast, we have to clean him first and cream him in various places to avoid any problems and burns he might have on his body from urine or anything like that.
With even the most basic human functions beyond him, Paul has to suffer the indignity of wearing an oversized nappy.
I can see some people's point of view. They'll probably say, well, why should social services help him? He's only got himself to blame. But I say, well, OK, that's their opinion, but everyone's got their own opinion. But when you do get an addiction, you do need help.
The unemployment and disability benefits, modifications to his council house, and the specialist treatment and equipment Paul needs have cost the taxpayer an estimated £100,000 a year for the last 10 years. But Paul continues to see nothing wrong in being supported by the state.
I don't think I am a waste of society. There's still someone inside me. There's still a human being there.
While many men are preoccupied with improving their physique, for one man, it's a single part of his anatomy that has become a lifelong obsession.
When I go into a locker room and I notice that a man there has a foreskin that's been left intact, I sort of immediately, I feel angry and I feel jealous.
For Eric Tashlin, nothing is more important.
These feelings could get out of control and could destroy my relationship if I didn't have a good handle on them.
Eric had a normal family upbringing. Brought up in the Jewish faith, he was, in keeping with religious tradition, circumcised when he was 8 days old.
I knew, growing up, that there was this thing called circumcision, and what it was they cut something off the penis. I knew my penis had been altered in some way, and there was always this sort of sense that something wasn't quite right with my bits. The revelation was when I realized, that most people in the world weren't circumcised at all. That was like a, what? That was a big deal to me. That really surprised me.
It's estimated that some 57% of American males have been circumcised, but few have had any say in the matter. Most circumcisions are performed on babies.
One of the things to remember here is that the foreskin is a very, very significant part of the genital anatomy. It contains thousands of nerve endings. It's important for the comfort and pleasure of the sexual partner, and its loss is significant.
Eric had always felt incomplete, but it took many years before he made the decision to do something about it.
What I personally sort of feel is missing is I don't have a foreskin. And when I sort of started to explore that idea, and I sort of looked on the internet, and I sort of learned about foreskin restoration, there was an immediate click of I want to do that.
The driving force behind this mission is his three-way polyamorous bisexual relationship with his girlfriend of 10 years, Nicole, and for the last 7 years, their partner, Evan.
We live together, we've got, the sort of more boring shit. We've got, a joint bank account, and now we live in a house together with our 2 cats and a dog. It's all sort of very domestic, except there happen to be 3 of us.
But the issue for Eric is that Evan, complete with his foreskin, gives Nicole more sexual satisfaction.
There are times when he's really discouraged and really jealous of what Evan has and just what men who are uncut in general. And there is a lot of that darker side to the whole feeling. It's not just gee, I wish I had that, but a real gut feeling of something missing.
First time I was with Evan, all 3 of us were together. I just remember Nicole saying, in this sort of fabulous tone of surprise, oh, that's how that's supposed to work. And I definitely remember, the first, getting to play with him and very much sort of being like, well, shit, I've got a long way to go.
Eric is less concerned about size.
Plenty of guys have, bigger penises than me or, more shapely. I can manage that envy. That's not nearly as, as painful as, the, intact guy thing.
Eric is most bitter that his foreskin was removed without his consent.
When I see an intact guy, I see someone who is allowed to develop as they are normally without someone coming along and deciding to, cut pieces off of their beds.
He was very angry with his parents for making that decision without giving him any chance to consent or not consent.
After losing his medical license, disgraced dental surgeon Michael Mastromarino began a criminal enterprise that shocked America. To sustain his lavish lifestyle, he masterminded a Dickensian scheme to steal corpses scheduled for cremation and harvest their valuable organs and tissue.
It's a perfect crime. There is no way in looking at the ashes to know if something is missing. And in many cases, there's no way to know if the ashes even belong to the person you think they belong to.
Not content with the millions his scheme was already making, he decided to expand his empire. A center of operations, complete with the facilities and manpower to cut up corpses, was required.
He found a man named Joseph Naselli, who was an embalmer. Naselli also owned a funeral home in Brooklyn called the Daniel George Funeral Home. He and some other people working for him converted the second floor of this funeral home. They had operating tables with drains where they could cut open the corpses or drain the fluids. They had a drain on the floor, big sinks. So it is, in a sense, they had an operating theater. They then brought in some huge industrial-sized refrigerators. And what they could do then is take the tissue, the skin, the bone, the arterial valves, whatever it was they needed, package it and store it in these gigantic refrigerators until it was time to ship it off to these tissue processing companies that would pay them for the body parts, and then those companies would sell them in turn to hospitals throughout the country.
But even this expanded business wasn't enough. Mastromarino was getting greedy. Up to now, to prevent leaving incriminating evidence behind, he had only targeted bodies scheduled for immediate cremation. But there were lucrative parts lying in bodies that were scheduled for open casket funerals, where the deceased would be visible. This presented a problem.
After they cut open the corpses and it removed the bones, they needed to replace them so the corpses could be dressed for the open casket.
Mastromarino came up with an ingenious solution.
So what they did was they took plumber's PVC pipe, which is sort of this plastic, bendable pipe, if you will, and would insert those into the body where the bones had been, arms and legs. And the idea of taking bones out of somebody and then replacing them with plumber's pipe so that you could put clothes back on them, and then displaying the open casket, in a church somewhere, with no one the wiser, was truly shocking.
Mastromarino was making millions and continuing to enjoy the trappings of his success, buying property, expensive cars, and exotic holidays.
Greed was the motivating factor here. I mean, he saw the money, he grabbed the money, he spent the money.
To go around in a flashy car with a fancy house and to know that the money for all of these things has come from dead people who really wanted to be buried in a proper grave, that's a very disturbing thing to think about. And I don't really think he had any qualms about it.
But Mastromarino's criminal career was about to come to an end.
The Daniel George Funeral Home in Brooklyn was sold by Mastromarino's associate to a man and his wife.
Mastromarino and his associates had taken the huge risk of harvesting bodies right up to the last moment before the sale. When the new owner took over, some of the looted but reconstructed bodies were still awaiting funerals.
One day, the woman was walking through the Janet George home, and her hand accidentally brushed against the dressed leg of a corpse, and she felt a PVC pipe. And look, she was in the funeral home business, so she knew, I guess she knew essentially what the leg of a corpse should feel like, and PVC pipe is not that.
Having stumbled upon the crime, she immediately went to the police.
I was working in the 6-2 detective squad, and a woman came into the precinct. She goes, "There's a doctor that's doing illegal stuff in the funeral home." And I said to her, "What do you mean illegal stuff?" And she continued to explain that he was harvesting long bones for tissue harvesting.
In 2004, the NYPD swooped on the funeral home that had been at the center of the conspiracy.
We saw the funeral homes where the tissue harvesting did take place. They were in the embalming rooms at the various funeral homes. It was very shocking. It opened up a whole new world to me that I had never known before.
Mastromarino and 4 others were charged with a series of crimes that included unlawful dissection, body stealing, and opening graves. Police evidence revealed that more than 1,000 corpses had been plundered for body parts. It also emerged that Mastromarino had even looted the corpse of his 74-year-old father-in-law. Relatives of the dead were contacted and shocked to discover how the bodies of their loved ones had been desecrated in the pursuit of profit.
A detective had called me and said, "You know, we believe that your dad's remains were stolen. They had taken his bones, his blood vessels. They took all of his skin off." I was really in denial because I couldn't believe that something so horrific could happen.
For years after this happens, they are reliving the death again. They've lost their loved one, which is bad enough, but then they're made to feel as if they've betrayed that person because they haven't protected them in death.
To stoop so low as to steal bodies and cut them up and sell their bones and tissue just to make a buck is beyond me. I don't know if there's anybody lower than that.
But the fallout from Mastromarino's activities didn't just stop with the families of the deceased. A whole new group of victims were about to emerge, who were very much alive.
They apparently didn't do any of the donor screening that we find to be so absolutely critical. They didn't talk to families. They didn't talk to medical professionals to find out what the medical status of those individuals was.
There were bodies of people who had died of hepatitis, also prohibited for use in transplants, intravenous drug use, cancer, tuberculosis, every kind of, including HIV, people who died of AIDS.
They weren't interested in providing safe tissue. They were interested in making as many people tissue donors as they possibly could, without any regard for the recipients who might come after that.
As a physician, as an oral surgeon, he should have known the danger that he was putting recipients of this tissue in. He was supplying bodies that in any other circumstance would have been turned down for body donation in a second.
All the body parts involved in the conspiracy were immediately recalled, but many had already been used in operations.
These body parts went all over the world. There were recalls in the United States, there were recalls in Europe, there were recalls in Asia, there were recalls in England, so it had far-reaching effects.
It's estimated that up to 20,000 people might have had contaminated tissue put into their bodies.
I got a phone call from the doctor and said that the bones that they had used had been recalled. And my first reaction was take them out. But they had already fused, so we couldn't take them out. Well, what happens if I have AIDS, if I have syphilis, if I have hepatitis? Those were the diseases that I have to be tested for. Hepatitis can go up to 10 years before it becomes active. That is a very sobering thought, that I could have something that's inside of me that's just waiting. It's the fear of the unknown.
In 2008, at Brooklyn Supreme Court, Mastromarino pleaded guilty to the charges put before him. He was sentenced to a minimum of 18 years in prison. After he was sentenced, Michael Mastromarino apologized for his actions. But not everyone is convinced that he's truly repentant.
He is now apologetic, now that he's facing and will do a minimum of 18 years in prison. He's saying that he regrets what he did. But this was not, the kind of immediate crime of passion. He had plenty of opportunity to think all this through, while he was setting up and doing this enterprise.
I don't believe him when he says he's very sorry for this, because he continued to do it for an extended period of time and to support his lifestyle. And I don't think he had any qualms about it then. I think he's unhappy that he got caught.
I think if Michael Mastromarino had not been caught, he would still be in business today.
Back in New Hampshire, Eric Tashlin remains angry that he was circumcised as a child, despite the fact that it's something he has in common with over half of the American male population.
I knew my penis had been altered in some way, and there was always this sort of sense that something wasn't quite right with my bits.
It's become Eric's mission to restore his penis to its original condition. He's experimented with a number of mechanical devices designed to stretch the foreskin.
All, foreskin restoration techniques work under the principle that skin under tension grows. It's a sort of physiological fact. It's the same way that my ear, now accommodates something which is a ½ inch in size. I believe this was the first tapeless tugger.
This particular device is called the Tug Ahoy.
A lot of people apparently weren't too fond of the twisting movement, including myself. This was the first restorer that sort of had the idea of not being a tugger. This was sort of an experiment this gentleman did in doing a tapeless weighted device. And then this one you just pull up and then it just holds in place. It's, all about figuring out what's going to work for you.
Eric believes that these various devices have had positive results, but attaching them remains difficult.
It's another tapeless tugging device. Just fits over, sort of try to roll the skin, pull it so you've got as much of the inner skin. When you're first starting out, I think it is hard to sort of have a real understanding of how this is all supposed to work. I think there definitely was sort of a learning curve that took me some real getting used to. I certainly had a hard time with, the idea of knowing when to stop. And then this, you would attach its clip. I certainly feel that I've got quite a lot of difference now from where I was. I'd say, I'm more than halfway to where I want to be. Clip onto the underwear, and then that could be just worn inside the pants.
But stretching his foreskin isn't just hard on Eric's penis, it's also hard on his wallet.
I've spent at least $2,500, $3,000 US on restoration over the years.
Eric's attempts to restore his foreskin have taken over his life. But it's an obsession that affects not only him, but also his partners.
Sometimes Eric will try a new device and it won't work, and he'll get incredibly frustrated. Sometimes I even wonder why he continues to do this. It's tedious and it's a good bit of work for a comparatively small amount of progress.
I'm getting so unbelievably sick of that thing. I just can't get it to go on right. Every time a device comes, you think maybe this is going to be the one that really clicks for me. And instead, thus far, I've only gotten as far as like, hey, this could be good enough.
He puts an enormous amount of work into the restoration. I think that it's something that he's thinking about an enormous amount, and I'm sure that there would be someone out there who would say that it's an obsessive thing.
We'll see if that holds for the next 10 minutes.
Does that work better?
No, but I got it. I don't know if I can't get into practice with it or if it actually doesn't fit me right.
Eric's foreskin fixation has become a common subject for discussion around the dinner table.
Did you feel a bit better having devices to drag? Because I know you were really frustrated with a while because you were having problems with taping.
I'd be fine if I could find a device that worked really well and couldn't be worn with clothing whatsoever. I'd be fine getting home, taking off my clothes, slapping something on my bits, and sitting around with no pants on for 6 hours until I went to bed, if it worked. But something about my anatomy and what have you that I still haven't quite found the right thing.
Despite all his previous disappointments, Eric is persevering. He's now pinning his hopes on a device he's found on the internet, which claims to restore a foreskin in just 2 years.
I've been waiting on this device that looks really nicely made, coming all the way from Australia at no, small cost. So I'm really sort of hopeful about sort of seeing how this one works. If I can't find a device that'll work, I'm going to be sitting there doing manual tugging, and it's going to take me, another 10 years to finish. Sort of have to go backwards at this point, emotionally would really, really fuck me up.
Your thing from Australia, King?
Close enough. Oh my goodness, it weighs a ton. It's massive. I'm gonna get Nicole's opinion on it. Hey Nicole, I could really use your help.
The My Skin clamp costs around $200 US. It's the heavyweight of foreskin restoration, and Eric has high hopes for the device.
Don't let the spring just go.
Oh yes, that was.
That's what I meant. Don't let the
spring
spring
just go. No, I know what you meant. I knew what you meant. It is definitely a spring, but see, I'm sliding off there.
Well, give it a shot. See how well it grips after a while. It might be that the spring. Let the spring go.
No, it's failing there. It is a deep belt. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem at all.
Still, I could wish it had a smaller diameter. See, I'm gripping on some skin I don't really like there.
But for Eric, it's another disappointment. The clamp doesn't fit, and it's not going to work.
It would be nice if someone would come out with a restoration device and say, here's a restoration device aimed specifically at men with small penises.
Nobody's anatomy is the same. So anytime you build a device for something, it's going to be not quite right. It's never going to be exactly the same from one person to another.
Eric has to find a way to cope with the psychological effects of being let down yet again.
It's something that it can really eat at you, and if you don't either find ways to vent that or to turn it to good purposes, it can sort of hollow you out inside. I can see how, these feelings could get out of control and could really sort of, for instance, they could destroy my relationship.
But despite the setbacks, Eric remains committed to finding a way to get the foreskin he desires.
The genitals that I have when I look down at my body don't match the way that in my head I sort of know and believe and sort of understand they should be. I'm not going to give up on restoration. I don't think it would be healthy for me to give up.
In Ipswich, Paul Mason's addiction to food has made him the heaviest man in the world.
When I'm eating, it just takes it all away. It really feels good.
Today, Paul has been struggling to breathe properly, and his concerned carers have called in the paramedics.
Since last Wednesday, I've had breathing problems, and I can't cope at home now. I think that's mostly weight-related problems. My weight's gone quite substantially since I ain't been able to get out and about.
Had paramedics around here because my breathing, and it's all because what you're doing to yourself. I was feeling really low, and I honestly thought I wouldn't pull through.
It's decided that Paul needs to go to hospital, but his size means that he can't fit into a regular ambulance. Britain's obesity problem has forced many local health authorities to commission specially reinforced, oversized vehicles. But with a maximum weight tolerance of 71.5 stone, even this ambulance is a tight squeeze for 70-stone Paul. Morbidly obese, the only real solution to Paul's weight problem is for him to undergo gastric bypass surgery. And now it's something that Paul's prepared to consider.
It was like a really wake-up call, you might say. I've been down as low as I can get, and I think you have to do that before you can start realising how bad you got yourself to pick yourself up again.
We all try to be cheerful, make a bit of a joke with him, and to bring his morale up more than anything.
The latest health scare seems to be the motivation that Paul needs to finally kick his junk food habit.
No, thank you. I have decided I must eat as healthy as I can and start exercising. You know, when you get to morbidly obese, it does make you think one day you could suddenly just die, you know. I've got to make sure that I don't lose control again, because if I do, the amount of weight I put on next time will be fatal. It won't be a trip to the hospital, but a trip to the morgue.